Hello there, and welcome back. So today I decided that I was going to create a tutorial on how to make an actual realistic phone screen. So going into the actual phones themselves, there's more to it than just the phone screen, obviously. Like in this sample I made a very, very quick phone that's pretty rough looking back at it, but it has like metal and some non-screen areas and stuff like that. But today we're going to be talking about the screen because it is arguably one of the most interesting parts of it, especially in 2017 where screens take up most of the phones. To follow along with this tutorial, you're going to need two things. You're going to need an image for an RGB pixel, which we are going to create ourselves, or you can find one online. I found out you can just search for them. They're not that hard to get. But we're going to be making our own. You can skip to later on in the tutorial where we're done with that if you already just got one online. And we're also going to be creating the material that actually merges them all together. Oh, second image you're going to need is also a screenshot. So let's get started. All right, so I cleared out all of that stuff, and we're just going to start out small. So what you're going to need to get started, let me actually put this back. I probably should just snap the cursor to its right location, but let's create 6 rectangles, but we're also going to be lazy about it and just array them. Yeah, that looks good. We're going to array this way, and we're going to set this to something like 0.01. Yeah. What we want is just this really, really small gap in between. I noticed that in a lot of the pixel images you can find online, there's just a really thin gap in the middle for some reason. Pixels are laid out that way on actual PCBs, so all right then. All right, so we're going to do that. And you're going to take this and we're going to array this on the x-axis. We're going to set this gap to be slightly bigger, but not that much. It's going to be 0.05, yeah. And we're going to make, I increased the wrong one. We're going to array it that way. And we are going to apply this one, keep this one the same way because we're actually going to use 3 sets of colors. And we are going to separate by loose parts. Also, I brought up that menu by hitting the space bar. And if you have dynamic context menu enabled, which you should, but if you don't, you should go to File, User Preferences, Add-ons, and it's right here. You're just going to check it, save user settings, and let's continue. So if you select one of these, we are going to have to apply a material to each one of them. And I don't want to set these to shadeless, so we're just going to set these to emission, which does pretty much the same thing, except it also emits light, but there will be nothing to catch it. We're going to set this one to not green. So since we're making an RGB pixel, or at least I am, it's going to be red, green, blue. So I'm going to set this one to red, actually. Yeah, this one to emission again, and we're going to set this one to green. Okay, we'll make a new material again. I'm going to set this one to blue. I want these to be the most extreme versions of each color, which is why I'm using this slider instead of that, I guess. Yeah, I want it to be accurate. All right, and we're going to take the camera and move it exactly to center. We're going to leave this Z exactly as it is because there's really no point in messing with it for this. All right, so now that we have all these set, we're going to go back to Tools, join them back up. We're going to set the origin to the center of mass surface. Oh, I didn't apply the second one. So you're going to apply this. And so all of these are actually geometry pieces. And then origin to center of mass surface. Going to set these to 0 so that they are also in the middle. And this is where things get interesting. You actually now have some wiggle room. with your actual resolution of your pixels, it doesn't really matter what they are. You can set them to 50 by 50, but I'm just going to be a bit extra and set it to 500 by 500. There's something meta about using 500 pixels for 1 pixel, but I'm going to take this and scale it a bit. What I'm going for is to have a border on the outside that is similar to the one in the middle, but a bit bigger. Actually, I'm going to keep the borders rather large because I want this to be dramatic, but keep in mind that for most phones and tablets, a border of this big would be pretty disgusting. You wouldn't want a phone like that. But I'm going to make it even more dramatic so that in the next shot, you guys can actually see what I mean when I say that it's rendering it each pixel by pixel. You'll see. I promise it will look cool. Gonna go to material view just to make sure all of this looks right. And we're going to set the background to a jet black. All right. And I'm going to set the compression up for no reason. Gonna set this to RGB. Color depth to 8 since we're dealing with just solid colors here. And I'm going to do that. Just, you can save wherever you want, of course. And we're going to render. All right, so now that we have our pixel image, we're going to save this. Go to desktop and pixel, yeah. Save as image, and because I have been burned by Blender before, I'm gonna make sure that actually saved. Yep, and there it is. Let's cancel that. And let's create a new file, unless you wanna save this. Might want to in the future. Like, so you can adjust the bezel size as need be, because this is pretty large. We're going to click new. Thank you for that information, mass drop. Thank you for that information, Phil. Thank you for that information, Futurism. Thank you for that information, LinkedIn. I think we're safe. All right, I'm going to get rid of that cube just because down with the cube. Going to create a plane, and I'm going to do nothing else for a little while as we actually work on our materials, which is the real meat of this tutorial. So I remember that I originally starting out with this guide, like when I wanted to learn how to make these, I found a tutorial about how to make it a long time ago, and I don't remember where it actually came from originally. I've done some tweaks of my own, so this isn't exactly a one-to-one, but I would like to actually give credit to whoever that original source is. I searched far and wide before I uploaded this video to actually see if I could find it again so I could give proper attribution. But for some reason, I can't find it. And I believe that whoever made it deleted it for whatever reason, which is a shame because it was actually pretty good. So let me delete this. Let me actually explain what I'm doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a texture coordinate. You could use generate if you want, but we're going to use the texture coordinate. So yeah, you can use either generate if you want or the UV, which I'm going to use the UV because it gives you more control. And since we're using the UV, I am going to use mapping. And this is why I want to use the UV. Because if you use mapping, you set it to point, which it already is, and you go over here, so this, that, you can actually set the scale. And why the scale matters is because we're going to actually be arraying those pixels that we made. And if we do it like this, we can actually set it to something that we can, let me actually set to something dramatic. 1280 by 720. Yeah. So this should be abundantly visible of what's actually happening because pixels are pretty small, but 1280 by 720 is noteworthy. All right. So this is where we're actually going to get our two images. You're going to get your image texture, apply that vector, and we're going to get another image texture, and we're not going to actually apply anything to it yet, but this second image texture is going to serve as our screenshot. So let's see. Yeah, there we go. Should make sure this is what I want. Yeah. Okay. And then we are going to add a darken node, which in Blender, it's actually mix RGB. And where is it? Darken. Cool. We're going to set the factor up to impossibly dark. And we're going to take the color of this, and this is our second color. Doesn't really matter which order. I lied. It totally matters which color. Ignore that. We're going to take our material output and space that out a bit. We need the space. We're going to add an emission node, and I'm going to stop to explain what I just did. Okay, so what's happening is we're going to take the UV value of whatever object we unwrap, which in this case is a plane on the other side. And we're going to take the mapping value, which is what's pretty much going to array and actually map to this image that we have. So we're using a resolution of 1280 by 720. And this image at the top is going to be our pixel. So if you go to Open, Desktop, where we saved it to, and Pixel. There we go, we uploaded our pixel. And we have our screenshot. And we're going to take this and apply it to our color. And I found that strength of 2 is better. And I'm going to take this and set it to for now. Sorry about that. Where was I? Okay, so we're mapping it to 1280 by 720 as our resolution. And we are going to take the vector, pretty much the shape of our pixel, and we're going to map it using that. So there's going to be pretty much 1280 by 720 of these. All right, and we're going to take this, which is our screenshot, and we add it to the darken node. What this does is it's pretty much going to, so remember how we had the red, green, and blue? It's going to look at the image that we have here, which in this case is a screenshot, and it's going to check each area that a pixel would have been mapped to. If that area has the colors that are in the red, green, blue, excluding the black, because it's black, it's in everything, it'll pretty much turn off those colors. So if it was an area that was particularly red, only that little red strip would actually light up. But the entire red strip, not just part of it. If it was blue, same thing, and on and on and on. And if it was a mix, it actually would calculate the mix. It's actually pretty cool, in my opinion. All right, so we have our Fresnel, which is actually set to, I believe this is the refraction of glass, which is good. This is what we want. And we're going to create a glossy, because I've used I was about to say it, typing what I'm thinking. So I've used this before in the past, and it pales in comparison to the actual glossy. So yeah, if you use the glossy, trust me, it's much better, but you can try both if you want. It will require a little bit of finagling, but I prefer this one. Let's set this to 0.04. I want it to be there, but barely, you know. And to tie it all together, we're going to have an add shader. This is just pretty much going to add those two things together. So we want all the stuff we just did over here, plus the glossy surface. So what this Fresnel is going to do is it's going to pretty much calculate the off angles that we have based on our camera. Like, let's think of a phone. If you had a phone in light, like with a bright light on it, the amount that it actually refracts off that light is hopefully the refraction of glass, which is why we said this is the refraction of glass. So if you look at it like head on, then it should be black, or it shouldn't have any glare on it at all. But if you tilt it even slightly, there should be a slight amount of glare. So what this is actually calculating is determining how much or how glossy the actual image is based on the position of our camera, which is also pretty cool in my opinion. So you're going to take your shader and you're going to apply it to the surface, and now we're in business. So if you look here, you can kind of, let me turn this on. You can actually kind of see what's happening here already. Like it mapped it, and you can see that with their square light that they have in their little studio preset, it's like refracting based on like that little bit of light. And let's see if we get a better thing going. Yeah, you can kind of see what's happening here. So let's actually go to our object. And since we're using 1280 by 720, something that'll actually help out is instead of keeping this as a square, because it'll kind of just smush everything together, we're going to actually make this a factor of 1280 by 720. So I'm going to set this to 1.28 and 0.720. Yeah. So there we go. It has that phone rectangle kind of vibe going on. Gonna take this and before we actually do anything, let me switch this to materials so we know when it actually works. And we're going to go into shading, and we're going to unwrap, and we're going to use Smart UV Project. And we're going to do this. All right, so what's happening here is strange. There's a weird white line up. I don't know what's happening. It's just you'll see. It's just the way the screenshot looks. So we're going to go into our camera. I'm going to lock this to the camera view. I'm going to move this in a bit. I'm also going to set this, it's already set. And there we go. So this foam material is, well, one, it's both sides if that matters to you, but it actually is calculating the RGB values. You can actually see that Blender kind of freaks out a bit when you move it around, which I find just very, very fun that it does that. Because it's kind of calculating pixels of pixels. It's kind of like when you take a picture of a phone, it'll actually do something similar to this a lot of the time. If you zoom in way, way, way close, might even have to get in a bit closer than that. So you can actually see where it is actually the RGB values of like the pixels. Since this is a pretty white area, it actually has all of the colors like lit up perfectly. But if we were to take this over to, say, this dark area where, what's actually happening in this part of the image, it's kind of, let's see, like this dark tree area. The pixels aren't off, like there's a lot more blue and a lot more green, even a bit of red, but it's most of them are turned off. Like it's pretty dark in that area. Let's see the Samsung green icon. You can see that the red is completely turned off here, but there is shades of blue, a little bit less, and a lot of green. And you can see that in the white area, all of it's on. So yeah. Yeah, yeah. I find this to be pretty awesome. I put this like every time I need a tablet or a phone thing. Putting this on just adds another layer to everything. It just makes everything so much nicer. I'm gonna actually, let me see if I can't exaggerate that. There we go. You can also see how it refracts light off of it. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. I'm not sure why I said it like that. That's YouTube culture just sneaking in there. Be sure to properly depress the like button and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this. And if you have any suggestions for more videos that you actually want to see, leave it in the comments. I'll actually be reading the comments. And yeah, I can make more tutorials on materials if you guys want that, or actual objects. I was making a train series. Since I can't find those files anymore, it's been a long time. But we can restart that if you guys want. Yeah, just tell me what you guys want, and I'll be glad to provide. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.